Every morning, the girl sat on the cold stone floor of the train station. Her hair was tangled, her clothes torn, and her shoes didn't match. She was just another shadow in the noise, silent, invisible, forgotten. Trains screamed. Announcements echoed. Feet stamped past her like thunder. No one looked down. No one cared. She played anyway. Screechy notes. Sharp. Crooked. Sad. It wasn't pretty. But it was real. Her music didn't beg for money. It begged to be heard. One morning, the same as every other, she lifted the bow with shaking fingers and began to play a melody no one had ever taught her. It was strange, jagged, beautiful in a way that hurt. A man in a black suit, shoes shining like mirrors, stopped mid-step. His train was arriving. His watch beeped. His phone buzzed. But he didn't move. The sound had pulled him in like a rope around his chest. And before he could breathe, the doors closed and his train rolled away without him. He didn't know it yet, but in that single moment, his life cracked wide open. And so did hers. You think this is just another story about a rich man and a poor girl, about kindness or guilt or luck, but it's not. This is a story about two broken people, one hiding behind glass towers, the other behind garbage cans, colliding in the middle of a station nobody really sees. This isn't a fairy tale. No magic spells. No easy endings. Just raw, real moments that sting and heal and change everything. So pay attention. Every word matters. Every second counts. Because this story doesn't just surprise you. It finds you. And it doesn't let go. She had no name. Not one she remembered. Not one anyone ever called her. Just hey, or move, or nothing at all. She lived in the corners of the old train station, where the wind slipped in and the heat never stayed. Her bed was cardboard. Her coat was thin. But every morning, she took out the same broken violin, hugged it tight like it was the last piece of her, and played. No lessons, no music sheets, no rules. Just the sounds that came from inside her chest. Jagged notes, crooked songs, sad like rainy windows. She sat near the trash can under the arch with the cracked pillar. Her spot, her stage, her world. People passed her like she was part of the floor. They rushed with coffee cups and briefcases. Their shoes clicked and clacked like clock hands. Some looked at her with tired eyes. Others with sharp ones. Some laughed. Some turned their faces away. But no one ever stopped. She didn't care anymore. Or maybe she did, but had forgotten how to show it. All she knew was the violin had to sing. Even if it was off-key, even if it was ugly. Because when it sang, she didn't feel so empty. Then one morning, a new sound, louder than the trains, sharper than the wind, cut through the station. Footsteps. Heavy. Measured. Important. A man. He wore a black coat that swept behind him like a cape. His shoes were clean. His phone was pressed to his ear. His voice was quick, clipped. The kind of voice that made people move faster. He wasn't looking for her. He was barely looking at anything. He had a train to catch, a deal to close, a company to save, or maybe just prove something to someone who once told him he'd be nothing. But as he passed, he heard it. A note. Off. Raw. Sharp as glass. He stopped, just for a second, then turned. There she was, bow shaking, eyes half shut, lost in the sound. Not performing, not begging, just playing. The man blinked. His phone buzzed. His train doors opened. He didn't move. Because the sound, it wasn't perfect, not even close, but it was alive. It crawled into his ribs and twisted. It sounded like pain trying to sing. And something in him, something he thought was long gone, heard it. He didn't know why he stopped. He didn't stop for street musicians. He didn't stop for anything, really. Life, for him, was about movement. Always ahead. Always up. Late was failure. Hesitation was weakness. But there he was, frozen, while the doors of train 47 opened with a hiss behind him. People brushed past, annoyed. Some muttered. Others looked curious, then shrugged. No one else noticed her. Not really. But he did. She didn't see him. Not yet. She just kept playing, bow trembling, chin tucked low. Her fingers danced like they were trying to escape her body, like they had minds of their own and stories to scream. And the sound. God, the sound. It wasn't music the way he understood it. Not clean. Not smooth. Not like the orchestras he'd seen at rich galas or heard in luxury cars. This was different. It was broken. But it was alive. Each note staggered out of the violin like it had been trapped for too long and finally found a voice. It squeaked. It cried. It caught its breath and kept going. And the man, his name was Elliot, felt something shift inside his chest. He couldn't explain it, but the sound took him back. Not gently, not softly. It threw him to a tiny kitchen with a flickering bulb. To nights when his stomach was empty and his mom hummed lullabies she made up just to keep the silence away. To the time he swore he'd never be poor again. Never weak. Never stuck. He remembered how he built his empire with 2 fists and a temper. Deals made through gritted teeth. Friendships sacrificed for profit. Nothing for free. Not even sleep. And yet here he was, willingly missing the most important train of his life. His phone buzzed again. He didn't answer. He just watched. When she finally looked up, her eyes met his, and something passed between them. A flicker. A question. He took a slow step closer, then another. The train behind him groaned and rolled away. Too late now. She lowered the bow. Her hands twitched. Not from fear, but from cold. Or maybe from whatever that song had taken out of her. He could tell it cost her something to play like that. He crouched beside her, slowly, careful not to scare her. She didn't move. "What's your name?" he asked, voice low. She shrugged. "Don't remember." He nodded, like that made perfect sense. "Where'd you learn to play like that?" She blinked. Her voice, when it came, was dry like paper. "Didn't. The violin talks. I just listen." That hit him harder than it should have. He glanced at the violin. Cracked. Chipped. Barely held together with tape and hope. And yet it had spoken. He sat down beside her, right there on the cold floor. A man in a $1,000 coat, on the ground like it meant nothing. People stared. Whispers rippled. Phones came out. He didn't care. "Do you play every day?" he asked. She nodded. "Helps me not disappear." That broke something in him. He looked away, jaw tight. "I forgot what that feels like." She stared at him, eyes narrowing. "You look rich. How can you disappear?" He let out a breath that wasn't quite a laugh. "Easy. You just stop being you." Silence stretched between them. She handed him the violin. He froze. "I don't know how." She smiled. Small, tired, real. "Maybe it knows you." His hand shook as he took it. He hadn't held an instrument since he was a teenager, back when his mom gave him an old guitar from a pawn shop. He'd sold it later to buy food. Never looked back. He raised the bow and dragged it across the strings. It screeched. Badly. She giggled. "You broke it worse." He smiled, for real this time. Then she lifted her hands and guided his. Slowly. Gently, showing him how to press, how to move. Together, they made a sound. It wasn't good, but it wasn't nothing. Something passed through him again. Softer this time. Not pain, not memory. Hope. A man in a suit stopped. "Is this some kind of show?" Elliot looked up. "No." The man scoffed and walked off. She didn't even glance at him. People don't understand what they can't feel. Elliot turned to her. "Do you have anyone?" "Family." She shook her head. "Had a mom once. She sang to me. Got sick. Then it was just the streets." He swallowed. I had a mom too. She sang when things were bad. We were always cold. I hated it. Then I missed it. She didn't say anything, just looked at him like she already knew. For a long moment, they sat together, quiet. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. 37 missed calls. His assistant, his client, his investors. He turned it off. What if, he said slowly, you didn't have to play here anymore? She tilted her head. Where would I go? I don't know yet, he admitted, but somewhere warmer, safer. She blinked. You'd help me. I think, he said, almost to himself, you already helped me. People think change comes in loud moments, explosions, arguments, big speeches. But sometimes it comes when a man in a black coat sits on the floor and listens to a forgotten girl with a broken violin. That night, he missed more than one deal. Lost money, reputation, power. But he didn't go back to his office. He stayed at the station until the janitor came. When he looked again, the girl was gone. Just the violin remained, propped against the trash can, a folded note tucked into the strings. You heard me. That's all I ever wanted. I remember now. My name's Leela. I'm going to find my song again. Thank you. He picked up the violin, held it like it was glass. He never saw her again. But from that day on, he came back to the station every week. Not to work, not to wait, to listen. And sometimes, in the wind between trains, he swore he could still hear that broken song. Weeks passed. People at the station started to notice the man in the black coat wasn't there anymore. The one who used to pace the platform with fire in his step and a phone glued to his ear. The one who once stopped and sat beside a girl no one else saw. Gone. At first, no one said anything, just kept walking. But some people, regulars, remembered. They remembered how he had stopped in the middle of his world for a girl with nothing but music and silence, and how after that day, he kept coming back, not to shout into a phone, not to chase trains. He just sat, quiet, still, listening. But then, one morning, she was gone too. No sounds filled the air, no off-key notes, no tiny figure by the trash can under the arch. Just stillness. People paused, looked around. Some shrugged and moved on. Others stood there longer than usual. On the bench where she used to sit, a small bundle rested, wrapped in a scarf. Inside was the broken violin, more cracks now than wood, strings tired but not snapped. Tucked beneath it, a piece of paper, carefully folded. He found it first. The man in the coat. He hadn't stopped visiting, even after the others stopped noticing. That morning, when he saw the empty space, his heart dropped. He rushed to the bench, hands trembling like the first time he heard her play. He opened the note. You stopped for my music. I stopped for your kindness. Now I'm playing in a warmer place. I remember my name again. That was all. No signature, no details, no return address. Just the words, short, clear, full of weight. He sat down hard on the bench and held the violin to his chest. For a long time, he didn't move, didn't speak, just closed his eyes and listened to the memory. The sound wasn't there anymore, but it didn't need to be. It lived in him now. In the quiet moments, in the cracks, in the parts of him he used to hide. And though she was gone, she'd left something bigger than a name behind. She'd left a new song, one he hadn't known he was still capable of hearing. One he would never forget. He kept the violin, wrapped it gently in the same scarf she left behind, as if it were something sacred. It sat in his home, not on a shelf, but in the room where he spent the most time now. Quiet, with no screens, no meetings, no noise. He never fixed it. Not the splintered wood, not the peeling varnish, not the missing tuning peg. He could have. He had the money, the connections, the best luthiers in the city on speed dial. But he never touched a single crack. Because some things are more beautiful broken. Not because they're damaged, but because their scars tell stories. Because they survived. That violin had cried in her hands, had spoken for a girl who had no one. And somehow, in all its ruin, it still made music. It made him stop. It made him listen. Sometimes late at night, he'd sit in the quiet and hold it again. Not to play, just to remember. His fingers would brush the strings, and in the silence, he'd almost hear her again. The trembling notes, the fierce sadness, the stubborn hope. He didn't need the sound anymore. The silence said enough. She had found a way out, found her name, found her warmth, and he had found something too. Not money, not control. Something better. Stillness, clarity, a piece of himself he thought was long gone, buried under years of deals and deadlines. The world kept rushing. Trains kept running. People still hurried past each other like ghosts. But every now and then, someone would pause at the bench where a girl once played. They'd look around, puzzled, as if trying to remember something. A feeling. A sound. They wouldn't know why. But he would. He always would. Sometimes, the biggest changes don't come with thunder. They don't shout. They don't shine. They whisper, in places you don't expect. In a cold train station. In a broken song. In the quiet moments between heartbeats. You rush. You race. You chase after time like it owes you something. But what if the thing you're looking for isn't ahead of you? What if it's right beside you, waiting to be heard? That girl, forgotten, unseen, held more truth in one cracked note than 1,000 loud voices. And the man, he had everything, but didn't realize what he needed until he stopped moving. So maybe, just maybe, it's your turn. What might you hear if you paused, just for a breath? What will you discover in the silence? Stop. Listen. The world is trying to tell you something.